Hey everybody, this is Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com here in San Diego, California for all things vintage Vespa and modern Vespa, along with a little bit of Piaggio and genuine stuff. Check us out, ScooterWest.com. So on to the subject of this video. I like sharing unique Vespa models in my videos. The owner of this business, Alex, has a very eclectic collection of Vespas. The unfortunate thing, he has them all stored away, so I haven't been able to do reviews. But this scooter belongs to an employee that works for his shop, Scott. His father owns this scooter. What's unique about it? Well, what the heck is Cushman doing on a Vespa? If you know anything about scooters, classic scooters, Cushmans were not Vespas. They were an American-made scooter, you know, for, I don't know the history. I know it's well over 20 years that they made scooters, something like that. But a very different scooter from the Vespa. But between 1960 and 1962 or 63, they imported Vespas. Much like the Sears brand, you know, this department store here in North America that's pretty much gone as of 2019. You can buy a Vespa through the Sears stores all through the 50s into the 60s. In addition to Sears, the Cushman dealers were also selling Vespas. They had the VBA, which is this model, and they also had the Vespa GS, which is a higher end model with a higher performance engine, similar looks, the 10-inch tires, but this is the VBA Vespa 150 that's sold through Cushman. The story about this scooter, I guess it was a barn find, and literally a barn find, like it was used on a farm, like around a farm, up until the time it was rescued. Sometimes it's the best thing. There's people that just keep things alive for 30, 40 years, and they're not just thrashed around on the city streets, and that's what preserves them when they're essentially stored in a barn or just used by one person, stored in a garage. It's kind of the nickname barn find, and that's where that comes from. But the badge up front, sold in the United States by Cushman Motors, Lincoln, Nebraska. So that badge is riveted on. I assume they put those badges on after they imported. Maybe they put them on at the Piaggio factory. I don't know that detail of it, but it certainly looks like something that was added a little later. So what's unique about the scooter? Well, it's not very unique when it comes to 60s scooters. It's a VBA that all, you know, transformed into the VBB with some minor upgrades. Has 8-inch tires. A very classic tread. This scooter was restored about 10 years ago, so you can see it has a lot of the typical of San Diego. We get this coastal weather that kind of just corrodes everything, unfortunately. I know, like, you got the salt belt, you got this salt thrown on the roads, but here in California, it's just in the air and it corrodes stuff. Got the fender crest, the classic looking 4-bolt split rim for the 8-inch. The classic metal badge. One of the earlier models with all cast aluminum handlebars. Before that, they either had the swan neck ones, which were just the headlight up at the top with bars, or the faro bassos, which were, well, at this point, 10 years before this model, where they had the headlight on the fender. It's got a classic mirror on there. Very neat. You can buy brand new reproduction or just new leg shield mirrors to make it legal. Technically you need a left mirror, but there's a right mirror that's just standing there waiting to get used. An upgrade from the 3-speed models. These VBAs had the 4-speed. In their stock form, this motor is hopped up just a tiny bit. In the stock form, they're good for 45, maybe 50 on a downhill with the 4-speed. They're very low tuned motors, get pretty good fuel economy. It's got the basic seating arrangement, just a single saddle with a rack, and underneath the seat you have the classic Vespa fuel tank, with a small amount of rust on it as well. You have the storage in all of the left cowl. There's no spare tire on this. with the Super Sports, the Rallies, P200s, they always put a spare tire and didn't have a storage. With the Supers and VBA, VBB, they had the luxury of having a whole lockable storage compartment. Located right underneath the seat, you have a bag hook, just the very basic, simple bag hook, not the more deluxe aluminum bag hook that would be found on the GS 150 or 160 of the similar period. You got the choke in the fuel tap, the classic rubber strips and rubber mat, the exposed rear brake pedal, and moving on to the rear. This Aero scooter has the very classic bumblebee looking cowls. Very round with only a small amount of detail in there, and the grills, GS 150. It wasn't, once they went to the GL, it started looking like 60s with sharp edges. They're just following the trends of automobiles of the time. Even the whole rear of the frame is very round. A classic small taillight, not in a chrome finish, but painted to match the scooter because it's a little less costly than chroming that taillight. So let's see it start. There's no key or anything. You just go right up to it. There's no battery. Very simple, all magneto system on this Aero scooters. So probably shouldn't need the choke. I do have the fuel tap on reserve. It's like 90 degrees here today. So let's just see what it does. So just a simple kick, starts right up. So you can, the classic Vespa. And here's another classic sound of a Vespa from this era. It doesn't sound like a modern horn. That horn is powered by the magneto, so it's got like a almost like a buzzer sound. So there's another piece of classic Vespa Americano history. We're imported by Cushman. How ironic. They made their own scooter and decided to bring the Vespa over. I don't know if that has anything to say about Vespas. Maybe the Vespa might have been better than what they were making. Who knows? I don't know what the price range was, but I bet you this was a cheaper alternative compared to the Cushman of the time. The Eagle would have been the top of the line, big bore Cushman. I think it's a little faster than the scooter, but gave the dealers of that time another opportunity to sell Vespas. Imported by many back in the 60s, it was a very fragmented network back in those days. It wasn't until the mid-70s that Vespa of America started importing. Just wanted to share some of the history of Vespa. I love the classic Vespas. I wish I had more time to do videos on the classics. And I always love to share other people's scooters if they come through and they're pretty interesting to me. Check out our YouTube channel if you're new to watching our videos. Over 450 videos, everything from vintage Vespa rebuilds to mostly modern accessories and install videos that I do. A lot of reviews on the new stuff. I love them all, modern or vintage. Until next time, it's the Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com. Check us out on the web. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Vespa Motorsport.